You're already leaning toward the screen. It's late. You haven't slept well in months. You keep explaining yourself to people who don't need explanations. You keep waiting for permission from people who don't pay the price you pay. You keep imagining that clarity will set you free. It won't. It never did. And you know that. You just hoped the invoice would get lost in the mail. Power is taken, not given. You can deny that, but you can't outrun the physics. You were taught to be understandable, to be agreeable, to be fair. That curriculum made you employable, compliant, and edible. You were trained for the queue. You are punished for stepping out of line, and quietly punished worse for staying in it. You feel it every time you leave a meeting and realize you got nothing you needed except the privilege to keep requesting. You won't be rescued by good behavior. You already tried. If that makes you bristle, good. The bristle is the sound of illusions tearing. You want Machiavelli explained. Fine. You want to understand why polite decency keeps losing to decisive audacity. You want the mechanism, not the myth. Here it is. Machiavelli wasn't writing a villain's diary. He was documenting gravity. He lived through chaos, saw jobs vanish overnight, watched cities devour their defenders. He understood something you keep pretending you can outvote. Power does not move because you make a case. It moves because you impose a new reality and force others to explain it. You've been trying to persuade reality. Reality doesn't listen. It measures. Psychology first. You've been acting like someone who thinks reputation is a byproduct of sincerity. It isn't. Reputation is an environment you manufacture on purpose and then live inside. You keep showing your truth to people who reward presentations, not truths. They value the feeling of certainty more than your evidence. They will never say that, but they will always show it. Men judge by eyes, not hands. They respond to what looks stable, what looks costly to challenge. You have deliberately looked challengeable because you are trying to be open. You thought openness protected you. It only exposed you. You became the path of least resistance. And power always takes the path of least resistance first. You also cling to the comfort myth. If people like you, they'll help. You confuse fondness with obligation. Machiavelli makes you upset because he strips that away. If you can't be both loved and feared, be feared. Translation. When options collide, reliable consequences beat soft feelings, not tantrums. Not cruelty for sport. Reliability. A line that hurts to cross. That is fear. You don't need to be a monster. You need to be a boundary. You have proof. Your deadlines move for the person who makes missed deadlines expensive. Your messages get answered first for the person who answers last and controls an outcome you need. You think that's unfair. It is. It's also how your life already works. You can be righteously powerless, or you can be effective. Now, mechanism. You live in two economies at once. The permission economy and the initiative economy. In the permission economy, you ask, you justify, you align, you wait. In the initiative economy, you announce, you schedule, you make the plan expensive to reverse. One is theater, the other is power. Look at your last three concessions. Who moved first? Not you. You waited for reassurance. You asked if now was a good time. You handed someone else the authority to gate your outcome. You thought that made you respectful. It made you predictable and safe to ignore. Here's what you're missing. In political systems, most yeses are retroactive. The approval comes after the fact to decorate a reality someone already imposed. If you keep chasing preliminary yeses, you'll spend your life furnishing other people's offices. Next mechanism, appearances. You hate this word because you were taught that being real beats looking the part. That's cute. It also placed you under people who mastered optics. Machiavelli's blunt fact, it is necessary to seem virtuous. Being virtuous is optional. Your instinct is to recoil. Good. Now let the recoil pass and interrogate the structure. You are punished for visible violations. You are not rewarded for invisible virtues. You are measured by what can be seen, repeated, and told about you in 10 words. You trained none of those things. You trained sincerity. You trained confession. You trained an honest face. You built a glass house and invited critics inside. Tell yourself the truth. You've given people information they did not deserve and would never protect. You have been volunteering leverage against yourself because you thought the open book would be admired. It won't. It will be mined. You want another mechanism. Here, cruelty used well. Not violence, not abuse. The kind Machiavelli means is administrative. A clean cut, one time, with a reason. Injuries should be inflicted all at once. Benefits drip-fed. Translation. Don't torture people with lingering harm. Don't let harm linger on you either. When you must do something that will hurt, collapse it into one decisive event, and then stop. When you have goodwill to distribute, do it in intervals so the story has beats. You've been doing the opposite. You've been stretching your own pain into seasons and dumping your generosity all at once for closure, which buys you nothing but quiet resentment when the memory fades. Another mechanism. Dependence. You think helping people makes them loyal. It doesn't. People are more faithful to the benefits they grant than to those they receive. When someone invests in you, they become entangled. When you only invest in them, you become replaceable. You have built connections where you do all the giving and then wonder why they vanish. They never had to defend you to their own self-image. They never had to justify you to anyone else. You asked them for nothing, so they owed you nothing. That's on you. You're also underestimating scapegoats. When a regime stalls, it offers a body. If you are the fixer who accepts every mess, your name is already on the altar. You will be praised while you absorb damage and denounced when the damage becomes undeniable. You will be the story of lessons learned. You will be promoted in responsibility until the rope tightens and then thanked for your service. If that makes you nod, stop nodding. Name it. You are being prepared for ritual sacrifice. Do not be available for it. You don't like dividing people. You were taught to build teams. Good. Keep that instinct. But understand this. Anyone above you who fears you will control alliances below you. Divide and rule is not about your spirit. It's about risk. If you look like you can mobilize a group without permission, you will be isolated. Not because you're wrong, because you're dangerous to them. If you act like a hub, you will be treated like a threat. So don't act like a hub until you can survive the isolation. Stop mistaking bread meetings for solidarity. Solidarity is proven when it costs. If you haven't seen anyone pay a price for being aligned with you, you don't have a team. You have attendance. Information control. You're addicted to transparency because it feels safe. It isn't. You think telling everything protects you from suspicion. It only teaches people that you are a faucet they can turn. Openness without leverage is charity. Learn the difference between being honest and being available. You don't owe your plans to anyone who cannot veto them. You don't owe your doubts to anyone who will never carry them. You don't owe your calendar to anyone who cannot change it. Fortune and choice. You've been blaming luck. You love that story because it lets you stay moral and stay stuck. Machiavelli splits the river. Fortune floods you, but virtue is how you build the banks. You don't control the storm, but you control where you place your house. You watch storms coming and say, now isn't the right time. You tell yourself you're prudent. You're just delaying the breach. Meanwhile, someone else wades in, plants a stake, and accepts the flood because the flood will be shared, but the stake will be his. Innovation and resistance. You tried to change something. It hurt. Every beneficiary of the old order pushed back. Every supposed ally of the new order gave you weak support because new orders are unproven and dangerous to defend. You took that personally. Don't. The structure is simple. Innovators have enemies in those who gained from what was, and only lukewarm defense from those who might gain from what could be. If you attempt change with consensus, you will die by consensus. You need a shield. If you don't have one, you need a patron. If you don't have a patron, you need a timeline and a surprise. If you don't have the stomach for that, don't make changes. Keep your calendar. Keep your desk plant. Stop pretending that planting seeds means anything without a fence and a watch. Neutrality is a trap. You think avoiding sides keeps you safe. It doesn't. It keeps you available as a prize. Neutral parties get partitioned. In conflict, the undecided are courted until they are captured, and then they are assigned obligations without honor. If you must be small, be anchored. If you must pick, pick hard and early, and pick in a way that makes it expensive to betray you. Does that sound harsh? Good. Choices that cost you nothing buy you nothing. Fortresses. You hide in your inbox. You hide in documents. You hide in your mind. You hope the wall will keep you safe. It won't. Machiavelli is merciless about this. Walls without allies are coffins. Power lives outside. If you can be starved out socially, politically, professionally, and your walls only prolong the anxiety, get into the field. Move among the people whose perceptions determine your survival. Be seen. Control what they see. Put your back to a support you can count on. The fortress feels safe because it is quiet. You mistake quiet for safety. It's just silence before the verdict. Mercy, cruelty. You want to be humane. Keep that. But stop confusing leniency with love. The people you delay with false hope will despise you more than the ones you cut quickly with a reason. You have been nice in ways that spread pain slowly. That is cruelty masquerading as mercy. Do what you must, then heal the room. Or hold your hand and admit you're not willing to pay the price. What you cannot do is delay and call it kindness. That's just fear. Spectacle. You refuse ritual because it feels inauthentic. You're wrong. People anchor to symbols. They read stages and ceremonies as evidence of reality. If you make changes, stage them. If you announce like it's a fact, not a plea. If your presence matters, manufacture the setting that proves it. You sneer at theatrics while they rearrange your budget. Optics win more than arguments because optics decide who gets to argue. You keep writing the perfect email. They keep hosting the meeting you weren't invited to. Framing. You believe facts speak for themselves. They don't. Stories decide which facts are permitted. If you don't supply a story, someone will supply one for you, and you will spend 6 months correcting adjectives. Speak first or be defined. If you arrive late to your own narrative, you arrive in chains. Unpopular decisions. Sometimes survival requires doing what will make you hated. You try to balance until nobody respects you. Better to be blamed once than to be quietly bled indefinitely. You hate that calculus. Still, you live inside it. You know the price of being everyone's friend. You become nobody's ally. You know the price of immovable boundaries. Some doors close. You keep trying to stand in every doorway. You are blocking traffic to your own house. Now let's talk about you specifically, not your enemies, not the abstract, your reflexes, your nervous system, your tells. You over-explain because you are terrified of being misread. You will be misread anyway. The cost of avoiding it is your voice. You apologize in advance because you want to preempt anger. You end up inviting it. Apology feels like permission. You ask, does that make sense? Because you think you are being kind. You are signaling doubt and inviting judgment. You say, if it's okay, because you want to be considerate. You are offering veto power to people who don't have to live with the consequences. You give away credit because you want to be generous. You disappear and then wonder why nobody knows what you built. You answer immediately because you think responsiveness equals value. You teach people you have no cue and no leverage. None of these make you moral. They make you manageable. You can see the trap now. You are told that compliance is noble, and it is when you are dealing with reciprocity. But you have been performing compliance for people who are playing a different game altogether. You thought the shared value was truth. The shared value was outcomes, and you kept surrendering them in exchange for good feelings. Stop pretending you didn't notice. You already did. You just didn't want the responsibility of noticing. Now the escalation you've been avoiding, if you do not learn to take, you will be taken from, not by villains, by systems. The systems you continue to service with your transparency, your availability, your permission seeking. They will drain you and then claim you fell. This does not mean brutality. It means clarity. It means being as deliberate with your power as others are with theirs. It means accepting that someone will call you arrogant, entitled, cold, difficult. Wear it. That is the price of ownership. You think you can keep your image and keep your freedom. You can't. One will purchase the other. You want tactics. You want to be told what to do tomorrow. Fine. But hear the frame first. Tactics without a spine make you a clever victim. You have to be willing to be misliked. Not for sport, for survival. You have to enjoy the feeling of not being understood because you know exactly what you are doing. You have to stop trying to be legible to people who benefit from your legibility. Now, do the minimum necessary to flip the board. Move first. Stop waiting for alignment. Draft the plan. Send the calendar invite. Create the fact others must react to. The room becomes your frame by default. Compress harm. Rip bandages in one motion. Kill zombie projects, stale obligations, soft commitments that never end. 1 week of pain beats a year of resentment. Ration access. Your time becomes scarce and therefore valuable. Scarcity trains respect. Availability trains expectation. Anchor reputation. Pick 3 adjectives you want used when you're not in the room. Earn them with visible actions. Repeat until boring. Stability beats charm. Demand investment. Stop doing all the favors. Ask for concrete, non-refundable help. Not because you need the resource, but because you need the entanglement. Refuse amateur audits. When someone without authority requests your rationale, give them your boundary. Explanation is a gift, not a right. Delegate blame. Not by framing innocence, but by systematizing pain through process. Policy is a shield. Use structures to absorb anger you don't need to hold. Stage outcomes. When you deliver, deliver in public. Build the story while you build the thing. If it isn't seen, it didn't happen. You're recoiling again. You hear these and your conscience flares. Good. That conscience kept you human. Now use it as a governor, not a leash. You're not weaponizing deceit. You're stripping away the lie that kindness requires you to be disarmed. Understand this about fear. You don't need people to be afraid of you. You need them to be afraid of the cost of ignoring you. That cost can be as simple as exclusion from value you control. If you don't control any value, you aren't in a power equation. You're in a service role. Own that or escape it. Stop pretending it's neutral. You also need to stop mistaking sympathy for safety. People will say they understand what you're going through. They will nod. They will mirror your pain. And then they will continue doing what punishes you, because the punishment is cheaper than change. They are not evil. They are responsive to incentives you refuse to touch. You thought the nod was a treaty. It was a tranquilizer. Now for the part you wanted to avoid completely. Your old behavior wasn't just naive. It was convenient. It let you claim the moral high ground while carrying no risk. You got to sit above the mess and call yourself clean while others use the mess to build the conditions you now hate. You are not just a victim of the system. You are a collaborator by omission. You fed it with your silence. That's why you feel sick when you hear this. Because you recognize yourself not as the oppressed, but as the obedient. Machiavelli is your mirror. he doesn't soothe you. He reduces you. He takes your favorite excuses and asks, "Did they keep you safe?" He doesn't care what you wanted. He asks what you did. He asks what happened. He exposes your strategy. Beg for clarity, offer your throat, call it respect. Now your choice. You can keep explaining yourself. You can keep asking if it's a good time. You can keep talking about values to people who know exactly what theirs are: control, survival, leverage. You can keep making beautiful reasons. You can keep hoping you will be rewarded for how much you suffered quietly. Or you can stop confusing kindness with weakness. You can stop performing vulnerability for people who convert it into discounts. You can start placing anchors where your life shifts. You can start making your moves irreversible enough that people must accommodate you. You can carry the small heat of being called difficult and feel your spine return. This is not a call to chaos. It's a call to adulthood. An adult accepts that love isn't enough if ignored, that honest isn't enough if ineffective, that harmless isn't enough if erased. An adult learns the physics. An adult decides where to stand and pays for the ground. One more mechanism before you click away and try to forget. Explanations are currency, and you've been spending yours in the wrong market. You explain upward to people who benefit from your confusion. You explain downward to people who cannot relieve your pressure. You never explain laterally to yourself in writing in a way that commits you to a course that can't be undone by the next gust of disapproval. You've been talking to the wrong judges. You've been trying to buy mercy from a system that only sells outcomes. Here's how you will know you've crossed over. You stop apologizing for your timing and start dictating it. You stop oversharing the process and start showcasing the product. You stop chasing consensus and start offering coalitions with terms. You stop asking to be seen and start designing what is seen. You stop being surprised by resistance and start budgeting for it. You will lose some comfort. You will lose some fans. You will lose the ability to blame luck for everything. What you will gain is simple. Wait. You will become harder to move without your consent. That is what power feels like from the inside. Heavy and quiet. If you came here hoping to be motivated, you shouldn't have. Motivation is sugar. This is salt. It preserves what you build and stings when it hits the wound. Good. Remember the sting when you feel yourself writing another 3-paragraph message to justify a decision you already made. Power is taken, not given. You were taught to wait. You were taught to be grateful for crumbs. You were taught to value how you look while your life is negotiated without you. Stop behaving like someone who needs saving. Nobody is coming. That's the worst news and the best leverage you will ever get. One final correction to your private scripts. You've been telling yourself you're not that kind of person. You are exactly the kind of person who will become whatever the environment requires. You already have. You became agreeable when the environment punished disagreement. You became invisible when the environment penalized presence. You are not pure. You are plastic. So choose the mold. Make yourself expensive to move. Make your boundaries hurt to cross. Make your presence create value visible, enough that ignoring you is self-harm. Then stop talking about it. Close your mouth. Open your calendar. Plant your stake. Inflict what you must, once. Withdraw what you must, slowly. Build your banks. Stage your announcements. Refuse the amateur audits. Accept the names they'll call you. Become the cost of doing business. And when the old reflex rise is explain, apologize, ask permission. Remember this. Every sentence you spend defending yourself is a sentence you could have spent enforcing reality. You are not owed fairness. You are owed nothing. That is your freedom. That is your terror. Sit with it. Then move. You didn't want comfort. You wanted control. That's why you're still watching. Power is taken, not given. Take it, or keep practicing your explanations to the people who took it from you. Either way, gravity will do what it does.